A very special guest. He's top hat ready. His name is Michael Theo, and he loves hugs and selfies, and he's exquisite at animation. He loves to talk about all of his special interests, and you can make your way on stage now while I do my proper intro, now that I've been fawning all over you. Mr. A+ is also how he's known. He's an actor, a podcaster. You probably know him best from Love on the Spectrum. He is just incredible and hilarious, and we just love all of his truth-telling. Michael, please come on up and join me on stage. Huge round of applause for Michael Theo. Woohoo! The big finale. How you going? How you feeling?
I'm doing well, thanks. How about you?
Yeah, not too bad, actually. I'm starting to get a little bit hungry, actually. I'm looking forward to an early dinner.
Nice.
Did we forget to have lunch?
Nope, don't think so.
Oh, I did. We landed, went to the hotel, and anyway, it's been a very busy day, but we're so happy to have you here.
Thanks.
So firstly, tell me, do you get recognised for Love on the Spectrum?
Yes, all the time.
What do people say when they see you?
They just keep telling me how much they love the show, me and my family, and they've even complimented on how lovely our home looks.
Oh, really? Like, because it was cleaned up for TV, or does it always look like that?
It's always like that because my mother's a bit of a clean freak.
Are you a clean freak?
Kind of. In fact, while I was growing up, my mother was kind of a perfectionist, and that somehow rubbed off on me.
That's a pretty awesome thing to have when it comes to keeping your home in order, especially when you're about to be on TV. How did you get on the show, Love on the Spectrum? How'd that happen?
I'll explain. I've been asked this many times. I was once with a employment agency called At Work Australia. They used to be called Essential Personnel. Northern Pictures was contacting various employment agencies for potential candidates, including At Work. They recommended me, and when I first heard about it, I was so eager to participate that I was calling them back several times to let them know.
And how did your experience go on the show? What did you learn about dating and love?
I began to explore what dating was really like because prior to Love on the Spectrum, I never actually had a date. And I was also sussing out some people and then started to figure out what I really wanted.
And what is it you're looking for in a partner?
Well, there are 3 important tick boxes that she has to tick. She must come from a loving family with old school values and and a family that isn't dysfunctional. That's only a fair request, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
You can't blame that. The second one is she must be a beautiful, loving woman with a pure heart. And thirdly, she has to be able to handle being the wife of a famous actor.
Because acting is your real passion, isn't it? How did that happen for you?
I've loved it ever since I was a kid.
Have you done any acting yet, or do you have anything coming up?
Yes, there is. I'm actually going to be one of the lead actors in a comedy television series, not a film, called Austin. The production starts in the last quarter of the year, which means the last 3 months of this year. Austin is about a young man in his late 20s who travels to the UK to meet his long-lost father because he was the result of a one-night stand in the 90s. And I'll be playing Austin.
Oh, wow. So you're going to travel to the UK for this?
Yeah.
Have you ever met any British babes before?
No, but I would love to.
Does the Australian Love on the Spectrum air in the UK? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, it did, on Netflix.
They love their Aussie shows in the UK, so I think that might be a good opening for you there.
Yes. In fact, I would gladly marry a British woman in a heartbeat.
That would be awesome. And you're also, I mean, a lot of actors do voiceovers as well, and we've talked a lot about your special interests outside of these events. So you love cartoons. Which in particular do you love?
Well, Snagglepuss is one of them.
Yep. Do Snagglepuss for us.
Okay. Heavens to Murgatroyd! His shooting is improved immensatively. What do you say to that? What do you say to that? Anything in need, name it, name it. He's in the next room. Wonderful, wonderful. I'll just snag him with his tea strainer.
I mean, that's the one that you're best at. And what else have you been working on in terms of voiceover characters?
There's also Muttley from Wacky Races.
Oh my gosh, please do Muttley from Wacky Races.
And there's also Rocky and Muggsy from Looney Tunes. Keep working, Rabbit.
Yeah, keep working, Rabbit.
Shut up.
What'd I do, boss?
I said button your lip.
Oh, okay, boss. Who's this, boss?
We're not stuck, Rabbit. You're stuck.
Yeah, we're not stuck.
Shut up.
What other special interests do you have aside from all the animation?
There's also railways, animals, and animals and nature.
Railways are great. We went on a tram today. How was that for you?
It was actually quite enjoyable. It's actually no different to the light rails in New South Wales. But I kind of prefer to travel behind real engines. Does anybody know what I mean by real engines? Steam engines, to be exact.
Yeah, I love that. And also, which animals are you mostly drawn to?
I love all animals except spiders.
Yeah.
Can't stand them. Too many eyes and legs.
Do you have many spiders in your home, or are you in a spider-free area?
On occasion we have huntsmans, but I stay away from spiders because they're so scary to look at.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the house that my family and I live in, my parents first moved in it in 1992, 2 years before I was born, and there were huntsmen everywhere because the previous owners liked having them around because they kill the cockroaches.
I prefer cockroaches.
How is that possible?
I could be covered in cockroaches. If I see the teeniest, tiniest spider, I will move house. I think I'm more phobic than you are. Tell me a little bit about your early life. Tell me about being diagnosed with autism. How old were you?
I was 5.
So you don't remember that then. When were you
No, I don't.
aware of a diagnosis of autism?
My mother first told me when I was 13 because when I was a kid, I wouldn't be able to understand what she was saying. Because when I was a kid in primary school, I was constantly off in my own world. And to this day, I kind of look back on that with a degree of embarrassment. Because kids don't seem to be like that these days. They seem to be more aware of what's going on in the world.
How did she explain it to you? Do you remember what she said?
I don't remember. This was like 16 years ago.
If someone asks you what is autism, how do you explain it?
Well, from what I can, as far as I can explain is that autism is a umbrella term for neurological disabilities. But that doesn't mean that they're at complete disadvantage. They just learn things differently, but they just have problems with socializing. But that can be worked on.
How have you worked on socializing? How have you managed to get better at it?
Well, my mother was encouraging me to socialize with other kids and make friends when I was in primary school because I often sat alone by choice. But in high school, I began to embrace it more. But now I'm even more sociable than I was in my youth.
Because when my kids sit by themselves in school, I assume they're sad, and it's a sad thing. Is it sometimes just okay? They're okay?
Yeah, of course. It's just, in my case, it was just by choice.
What was school like for you?
Primary school, it was really enjoyable. But high school, I absolutely hated it. Not because of the teachers, but because I cannot stand theoretical work, and because the students had a lack of maturity, especially the girls. They did not impress me one bit.
What were the teenage girls like in high school for you?
not only were they not ladies, they were the furthest thing from it.
Yeah, I've got a
But-
teenage girl at the moment. There are
But
challenges.
what I notice about teenage girls is that whenever they have a boyfriend, she becomes obsessed with him to the point where it's the only thing she talks about and thinks about. But what she's unaware of is it's only a matter of time before the relationship fails and then her happiness dies along with it. Then afterwards, she sinks into a deep depression until finally she has no choice but to accept that's reality and move on. Because really, boyfriend-girlfriend relationships are nowhere as serious as a marriage. Because when you're in a marriage, you have no choice. You have to make time for your partner. Because if you don't want to, what's the point of being married then?
It's interesting because even dating as a, quote unquote adult, you do sort of get obsessed with relationships, and it takes a couple of broken hearts before you realize you do need to work on your entire life. It can't be your whole life, and you seem to be working on all parts of your life at the same time as looking for love.
Exactly. It's because you see, I see life as two things, a book and a puzzle. Because you know how I have these goals of wanting to be married, have an acting career, have my own house, a pet, and being financially set for life and potential children. I see those as pieces of the puzzle. Without all of those pieces, the puzzle will never be complete. And with books, whenever you have a new relationship or transition to primary school, high school, or university, or TAFE, or new jobs, those are all chapters in life.
I love that. I
And
really love that.
Whenever a chapter's closed, it's closed. That means move on to the next one.
I sort of want you to write a book with life advice. No, just write down everything you just said.
I'm not even a writer.
You don't. You're a writer when you write. I think it can definitely go on your list of goals. We'll talk about it later. Yeah.
Okay.
One final question. What advice do you have for parents when it comes to supporting their autistic children?
All I can say is just do your best to support them and encourage them. And don't be too hard on them. And still respect their space when they need it. But as parents, all you could do is just be there for your kids and support them whenever they need it. What you do may not always necessarily fix their problems, but look, the thing is, when I talk to my parents and complain about shit that goes on, I'm not asking them or expecting them to fix my problems, because sometimes problems just can be fixed by themselves. Sometimes I just want them to just sit there and listen, because sometimes people on the spectrum just need someone to vent to. And people on the spectrum still want to be loved. They all do. And I am too. And even though I may be this confident young man, I still have my own moments of vulnerability, because like all of you, I'm also human. If you guys think that I'm not terrified of rejection, I certainly am. In fact, dating is one of the hardest things I've ever done. But despite that, that doesn't stop me from continuing the quest. Because sometimes I'm like a wolf that just won't give up in his hunt. Yeah. So basically, bottom line is, as parents, just be there for your kids, support them and encourage them whenever they need it. And do your best to mold them into adults. And as long as you keep doing those things, your sons and daughters will be okay. And if you think that you're doing the right things, then you're certainly doing your job as parents. Just keep that in mind, everyone.
We do have time for a couple of questions for Michael. If you'd want to pop your hand up, if you do have a question, some life advice, some dating advice. Just bring the microphone over to you. Thanks so much, Michael. That was awesome.
No problem.
Hi, Michael. My name is Christy.
Hello,
I actually
Christy.
work in high school, so I agree with everything that you said about teenage girls,
Amen.
although teenage boys are pretty smelly.
Yes.
I'd really like to hear what your advice for a teacher would be if you were going through high school again. What is it that you would need from your teacher to make your learning experience the best that it can be?
Honestly, I can't really think of any right now because when I was in high school, I was rarely bullied. But I think the guys were too scared to even pick on me because, to be honest, I was actually the school grump. And yet I was voted best laugh in high school. I was only called the school grump because that's what my brother once called me. But I didn't see how that was an insult. Yeah. You're welcome.
Any other questions for Michael?
Who is Mr. I Plus?
Sorry?
Where'd Mr. A Plus come from?
Oh, that was just a nickname that my mother started calling me. It's because a few years ago I started saying that an A plus partner looks like me, and then she started calling me Mr. A plus.
So nothing to do with school.
No,
You didn't get A pluses in your schoolwork.
nah, I was actually a B and C student.
It's pretty decent.
My strongest subject was woodwork.
Oh, do you remember anything that you make? Did you keep it all?
I've kept a couple, like a hat stand and a footstool that I made in my senior years. In years 9 and 10, I made a bedside table and a coffee table, but I eventually donated them because the bedside table was too bland in appearance and it didn't have any drawers. I needed the storage. And the coffee table, that was also bland in appearance and it was also taking up space, so I had to donate that too. And because there are more attractive coffee tables out there.
Now that you're famous, someone owns your coffee table. Did you write your name on it anywhere? Do they even
I-
know who made it?
I didn't.
It's out there somewhere. Someone's the lucky owner. Any final questions for Michael before we wrap up today? How many suits does Michael own?
I have at least 4. Nah, not just yet, at least. Oh yes. I actually wore that at the Autism Awareness event in Sydney a few days ago.
Who's Ellen? Who sent you a suit?
Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh,
Who
Ellen.
else?
Oh, I thought you said Alan. Ellen sent you a suit.
No, it's Ellen.
Okay, that's been cleared up. Any final questions? Yep, one final question here.
Hi, Michael.
Hello.
I'm wondering, do you watch yourself much on Netflix?
I barely see myself on Netflix.
Okay.
It kind of feels a little bit weird. In fact, when I record my podcasts, I don't really often listen back to them because I care more. I actually enjoy the experience more than the final product itself because I said to myself that as long as my audience enjoys it, that's what I'm most proud of.
Let's give a huge round. Sorry, I just cut you off.
That's all right. I was just going to also say that's the other reason why I first joined Instagram. I did it for my fan base. I did it for them.
What's the name of your podcast?
Mr. A Plus.
Excellent.
And it also has a strict no COVID talk policy, which I'll explain why. Because of the pandemic, the people of New South Wales and Victoria were put through hell by their premiers. Especially the people of Melbourne. They copped it the worst. He's done 7 rounds of hell to them 7 times, and I wouldn't be surprised if he inevitably does it again. But that's just me. But that doesn't matter. What we need to do is just stay positive, think positive thoughts, and have faith that everything's going to be okay, just like my dad always teaches me. Just remember that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Michael Theo, thank you so much for joining us.